Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. This it is my great honor and privilege. My name is Wolfgang Zimmermann. I'm the president of the Pacific Coast University for Workplace Health Sciences. To be a master of ceremonies for this auspicious occasion, we have a great program in front of us, and with that. I'd like to get started and first up introduce our Chancellor, the Honorable Wayne Waters. Wayne has had a distinguished 37-year career in public service, including 5 years serving as the clerk of the Privy Council of Canada. As clerk, he held the roles of Deputy Minister to the Prime Minister, Secretary to the Cabinet, and Head of the Public Service, providing direct advice and support to the Prime Minister on all matters affecting and implicating the federal government. During his tenure as clerk, Wayne played a pivotal role in major Government of Canada initiatives, including public sector strategies such as Canada's Economic Action Plan. Wayne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Hello, everyone, wherever you are in the world today, and welcome to our convocation ceremony. I'm so honored and proud to be your Chancellor and to have this occasion to participate in this graduation ceremony. I'd like to start by acknowledging that the physical location of Pacific Coast University for Workplace Health Sciences is on the traditional territory of the Nuu-chah-nulth First Nations. Now, anyone who has had the opportunity to visit our university, you're greeted by the carved welcome pole and reminded that we are walking on Indigenous land. As I said, it gives me great pleasure to speak at this, now our third convocation ceremony, where this year we have an outstanding group of students graduating. Let me begin by offering my sincere thanks to our dedicated faculty, staff, and of course, all the students enrolled in all our programs, past and present. Your contributions and commitment over many years have helped contribute to this moment. And I'd also like to extend our appreciation to all of those in the broader community who have supported our faculty and students, their friends and family, many of them on this call today, and mentors, of course, and as well, the government of British Columbia and the elected members of the legislature from all parties who saw the value and long-term opportunity in laying the statutory foundation for the university. On a more personal level, I'm proud, way back in 2009, I had the opportunity during the challenging financial crisis we saw in Canada and indeed around the world to support funding for the physical campus that established our university in Alberni Valley on Vancouver Island. Now, turning for a moment to our graduating students, it's your day here today. You should be immensely proud of your achievements, especially when considering that you have accomplished this without a group of peers by your side and very few alumni from previous years to guide you. Your independent achievement speaks to your resilience, your focus, and your determination. And you have made all of us so very proud today. You know, the disability rights movement in Canada has evolved over the years as new legislation has come into effect both federally in 2019 and here in British Columbia, where accessibility legislation achieved royal assent last year. And we all hope that these pieces of legislation will have a tangible impact on the lives of persons with disabilities, especially when considering that today approximately 1.4 million Canadians with disabilities live in poverty, with the vast majority having acquired their mental or physical employment limiting health impairment during their working lives. I am most hopeful that your skills and your abilities over time will have a positive impact on lowering these terrible statistics. These challenges will require the type of leadership and the knowledge and engagement that you have acquired while completing your studies at BCU. We hope that the degree you have earned today, combined with your personal effort and commitment, will drive much better outcomes for people with disabilities in the decades to come. We must continue to celebrate the achievements and contributions, as well as increase public awareness, understanding, and acceptance of people with differing abilities. The opportunity to find or return to employment is absolutely essential for any individual's dignity, financial independence, fulfillment, and self-worth. We must each reflect on our own individual responsibility to take action and impact the change that we want to see in our society. The contributions of disability management and return to work professionals like yourselves cannot be overstated. It is truly life-changing work. All of your continued actions and struggles, balancing many competing personal, professional, and financial priorities, and you all have your own stories, I'm sure, to tell. But doing that in order to complete this demanding degree program demonstrates this philosophy. Your own commitment to learning and excellence in disability management is exceptional. Suffering a serious injury or disease is not in anyone's future plans, but your skills and expertise will allow you to support those who have suffered a life-altering health impairment and assist them in navigating their own path forward so that they too can realize their potential and continue making their own valued contribution to society without being pushed to its margins. Again, my heartfelt congratulations on your tremendous effort and achievement here today. Thank you. Back to you, Wolfgang.
Great. Thank you very much, Wayne. There's absolutely no question that if it was not for your commitment and support over the last 20 years, certainly we wouldn't be where we are, and certainly this university would not exist here in Port Alberni today. Now I'd like to introduce Ken Newman, who is our labor co-chair and has been engaged with us for many decades. Ken just recently finished a 42-year career with the United Steelworkers, is the former United Steelworkers National Director for Canada, having served over 4 elected terms in the position from 2004 to 2022. Prior to 2004, Newman served as the elected director of the Steelworkers District 3, Manitoba to British Columbia and the Territories from 1989 to 2004. At the time of his retirement, Ken was the longest serving international executive board member in the United Steelworkers. As the National Director for Canada, Ken directed all of the major initiatives of the union in Canada along with a 70-person national staff who resourced national, locals, and field staff. Ken, please take the microphone for comments on behalf of your employer co-chair as well as the board of governors for the university. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Wolfgang, for that introduction. And Wayne, our Chancellor, thank you for those very eloquent submission that you've made. And hello to everyone from, I guess, from around the world. It's a great honor for me to be with you today for the third graduation of students as the Bachelor of Disability Management. That's something that's close and dear to my heart. It's something that so many people on this screen and many others around the province in Canada have worked hard to make this a success. And I'll say a few words about that. So I just want to say on behalf of the PCS, the Pacific Coast University Board of Governors, I want to say a special congratulations on behalf of the board to all of the graduates that are here today. I want to share a bit of my personal experience, and I know that Wayne has talked about it quite often in my 45 years of service within the trade union movement, is that I've recognized in the many industries that we've worked in is that in order to move the needle, that you need labor, you need the employers, and you also need government to move the needle. You heard Wayne talk about some current legislation in regards to federal and provincial, is that needle is moving. But when it comes to labor and management, is that in my experience over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with some employers where people had disability at work, that you set aside some special jobs where people couldn't go back to their normal career, that you could set aside that they would continue to be able to function and return to work. And I've always remember that from my early years at Cominco in Kimberley, BC, where you had a big mining operation, the largest lead zinc mine in the world, where someone may have lost a limb or something that couldn't go back to their traditional. We set aside some particular jobs that they could still function. And the thing that I've learned very early on, and Wayne alluded to it towards the end, that no one goes to work to get killed or to get injured. The fact is that when people are disabled, is that they still have a family, they still have children, they still have responsibilities. And the fact is that they still need to have that self-worth, that they can fend for their family and have pride, because of the statistics otherwise are not very gloomy when it comes to seeing what happens. So I've been a very strong advocate and will continue to be an advocate even now that I have stepped aside as the national director and working with the Pacific Coast University to continue to move this needle. I'm sure that many of you have seen the statistics, and I just want to briefly go through some of the statistics from the ILO that has been published, and also the stats in Canada. First of all, on a global business basis, every day there's 7,500 workers die from a work-related accident or disease. That's 2.7 million each year. An additional 374 million workers suffer non-fatal occupational accidents each year. And the economic burden is 4% of the GDP and 6% in some other countries. Let me just speak a bit about Canada. We have 251,625 occupational lost time injury claims, almost 1,000 fatalities each year. And the statistics have been very consistent, that for the last 10 years that there's close to 1,000 people that go to work each year to advance their careers and to fend for their families that get killed at work. And the ratio of those killed, the permanent disability for every worker that's killed, the ratio is 25 to 1, 25 people that will have a permanent disability. So the cost of the disability and related absence is in excess of $16.5 billion, or 2.4% of national payroll. And the fact is that this is such a crucial issue. And quite frankly, as I tell people in my peer where I get the opportunity to speak, sometimes embarrassed at the record that Canada has, especially when it comes to health and safety. My personal experience, I've been personally involved. As you know, we had the West Ray disaster some 30 years ago where 26 miners got killed. We're the ones that fought to change the law, employers held criminally responsible. And we continue to move that needle, is that it's slowly moving, but we now have the opportunity to move that even further. So for me, it's a situation is that, and again, I know Wolfgang as our president, is that who I've known for in excess of 30 years, that he's been tenacious about it, because here is someone himself has worked the first week on his job that wasn't an accident, that he had a spinal cord injury. And he's the one that has been tenacious about moving this, no doubt very instrumental along with Wayne and others to get the university, the first of its kind in the world, to be built over in Port Alberni. And we're now making progress, and you have the legislation that Wayne talked about earlier. Had it not been for the tenaciousness, in my view, of Wolfgang, is that we wouldn't have been at this point where we are at. The thing I always highlight when I talk to people is that I've known Wolfgang for many years. And when I talk to him, he says to me, he says, Ken, I'm lucky. But when I look at Wolfgang and when I'm in his presence, I try to just witness to see him just to go get a cup of coffee, or try to go get a meal from in a restaurant, or try to see him maneuver to go in his wheelchair outside to get to the door. And then you try to envisage of how he tries to cope with the many challenges you have at home. So when I look at him, I say to Wolfgang, how do you determine that you're lucky? And I'll never forget this. He says, I'm lucky because I got retrained. I have an opportunity to fend for my family, and I have pride in the work that I do. And that's exactly to what Wayne was saying, is that no one goes to work to get injured or to have a permanent disability. And if you look at the statistics of what's happening with the reemployment of people with disabilities, it's shameful. You look at the highest suicide rate, you look at the highest depression rate, you look at the highest alcoholism rate, and the statistics go on. So I'm just very proud to be associated with Pacific Coast University, but just as proud to see that we have graduates such as yourself that'll take this to the next step to make sure that we improve and continue to improve the return to work protocol for people, that they're human beings the same as us. They have families, they have spouses, they have children, they have grandchildren. They need to have that value to make sure that they get retrained and importance of returning them to work. So with that, again, my heartfelt congratulations to each and every one of you. Wish you all the greatest success in your career path that you've chosen, which is an important one. It's a mission that's going to be important to society from here on in, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you very much, Ken, for your kind words. Certainly much appreciated, and it's certainly no irony that when I got hurt, I was in fact a member of the United Steelworkers, and it was the support of the local camp chair here in Port Alberni, a logging camp with 450 workers working there, that allowed me to go back to work and carry on. So that was absolutely key, and employment continues to be the key challenge. Moving on, it now gives me a tremendous pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this auspicious occasion, Shane Simpson, who was the former Minister for Social Development and Poverty Reduction for the government of British Columbia until November 2020. Shane was first elected MLA for Vancouver Hastings in May of 2005. He was re-elected in 2009, 2013, and 2017. Shane served also as opposition spokesperson for economic development, jobs, labor and skills, and opposition caucus chair. He has also served as opposition critic for labor, housing, and the environment. In his professional career, Shane has worked as the Director of Policy and Communications for Smart Growth BC, Chair of the Vancouver City Planning Commission, an instructor in the Community Economic Development Program at Simon Fraser University, Executive Director of the Worker Ownership Resource Center, and Legislative Coordinator for the Canadian Union of Public Employees. Shane was the recipient of the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal for his contribution to community in 2002. In 1992, he was awarded the Governor General's 125th Anniversary Commemorative Medal for Community Service, and Shane, during his term as Minister, is the architect of BC's first ever accessibility legislation. Shane, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Wolfgang, and thank you for the kind introduction. And I sometimes say that mostly what that introduction demonstrates is my inability to hold a job for very long. But I do want to acknowledge that I'm here in the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and I thank them for the opportunity to live, work, and play in their unceded territories. The first thing I want to say is a huge congratulations to all of today's graduates. Many of you, you're accomplished professionals who've chosen to add to your resume, and in doing so, ensure that disability management and return to work issues in your organization will be better managed. Through your educational efforts, you've ensured that your organizations are better equipped to support workers to return in a way that is appropriate and with every opportunity to succeed. This is a circumstance that NIDMAR, the National Institute for Disability Management and Research, strives to make a reality in every workplace, and your efforts have supported that. Having said that, we need to move the dial. Move it to a place where workers can expect the supports and compassion necessary to be welcomed back by their employers with plans that are designed to succeed. And that's truly where you come into this conversation. The evidence has shown us that those supports are needed if we're going to see that success. If those opportunities to return to work are going to become the standard and the expectation across employment, not just in British Columbia and Canada, but globally. We know that of all the people who are forced out of work, about 30% faced a workplace injury, about 70% faced other, primarily health-related issues. And as we understand mental health issues better, increasingly it's clear these issues comprise a large component of that 70%. While mental health stigma is lessening, it continues to be a real issue that needs to be overcome. How people are welcome to reach out for help that is not judgmental is critical to those efforts. And we know that if people are off the job for a year or more, and maybe less, their likelihood of returning falls to about 1%. Their lives are changed forever, and it is not for the better. Through your efforts, you have the ability to make that better in very tangible, hands-on ways. This is true for those facing return to work challenges, and even more so for those with disabilities seeking to get into the workforce. People living with disabilities face huge employment challenges. Their likelihood of finding work is about half of what it is for a non-disabled person. We know that persons with disabilities are twice as likely to live in poverty, to be devalued, often feeling hopelessness and despair. Yet we know that people with disabilities make excellent employees, often bringing high skill levels to the table. Sadly, they too rarely are able to get a seat at that table. Rather, their lives are often relegated to one of poverty and a lack of hope and opportunity. In British Columbia, the jurisdiction I know best, about 500,000 people in our province, a province of around 5 million people, about 500,000 people struggle in poverty every day. And a large percentage of those people are people living with disability. The correlation between poverty and disability is unquestioned. When my time as Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, I had the privilege of bringing in two significant pieces of legislation, two laws. First, the Poverty Reduction Act, which we brought forward as one of our commitments to look at ways that we could reduce poverty. And the second, as Wolfgang spoke about, was to develop the accessibility and inclusion legislation. During both of those exercises, we did extensive consultations across the province. And I had the opportunity and took the opportunity to participate in all of those consultations almost. I traveled the province and I was focused on meeting with people with lived experience. And when I met with people living with disabilities across our province, They talk to me about challenges around housing. They talk to me about challenges around their incomes. They talked about the desire to change our culture on how we view disability and how we view people with disabilities and how they're seen in society's eye. But one of the things that I heard without exception at every consultation was people come up to me and say, I want a job. I want the opportunity, first, of course, to be able to have a better standard of living for myself and my family and my loved ones. But I have value and I have something to contribute, and I want the opportunity to do that. And a job will afford me that opportunity to demonstrate that value and contribute to society. It's not lost on people living with disability, and we would all know this, that when you meet people, the first thing they ask you is, what's your name? And almost without exception, the second question is, what do you do? And they want to answer that question in a different way. And employers. I met with many employers who had engaged people with disabilities into their companies. And many times what they would say to me is, I wanted to be socially responsible, so I created an opportunity for somebody with a disability in my company. But I learned very quickly after they came to work for me what incredible value they added to my company. They were committed. They were excited for the opportunity. They worked incredibly hard. And they changed the culture in my workplace as their coworkers, my employees, began to learn about people with disability, to see them as people and not see them as their disability. They became true assets for those companies. And those now are some of the best advocates for employing people with disabilities, are those employers who have realized that value moving forward. I'm very hopeful that we're going to see the change. And that comes because of the hard work from people like Wolfgang and Nidmar. And it comes from the changes we've made in British Columbia with the Accessibility and Inclusion Act and a comparable federal piece of legislation and a federal law. In British Columbia, what that means is now the whole public service, whether it's universities or colleges or healthcare, are obliged over the next year to 2 years to put plans in place for accessibility and inclusion, including plans that will create opportunities, better opportunities for return to work. The same requirements are coming for the private sector, and these laws will improve accessibility and inclusion. It's also very positive for our economy. This is an opportunity to help address one of our biggest labor challenges today. We struggle with a labor shortage. When hundreds of thousands of people are living with disability across Canada and looking to fill those positions, and they are available today, with a bit of accommodation and support, they can succeed. And I know governments are often ready and able to provide that support. Yet until employers step up, it will be an unsatisfactory result. Those employers need assurances, awareness, and supports if they're going to open their doors. My call to you is to ensure that your disability management and return to work strategies for your organizations are the best they can be, but also that you become advocates for hiring people with disabilities for new openings in your organizations, that you make the case that they bring skills, they are excited to learn, to work and contribute, and that they will make your workplace better in so many ways. You have demonstrated your commitment through your efforts leading you to today, a commitment to make life better for those who need some support. I ask you to elevate that commitment and help those living with disability to have the opportunities that so many of us have enjoyed. You are the cutting edge on these issues moving forward. You are who your employers will look to for guidance and direction on so many of these questions. So I want to thank you for your work and the work you'll be doing moving forward. I want to thank you for your commitment to make your piece of the world a little bit better place, especially for those who truly need a chance, who truly need an opportunity to achieve the lives they want for themselves and their families and their loved ones. This is a challenge. It's not easy, but it's doable. And it will be best done with people with your skills and your commitment and your ethic working on the ground in workplaces across the globe. So thank you and congratulations on all of your accomplishments. They are meaningful, they are substantial, but as we all know, there is much, much more to do. So thank you again. Enjoy your day. It belongs to you. And let's get on with the job of making the world a more accessible and inclusive place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shane, for your most inspiring words. And again, congratulations on having taken the leadership in creating BC's first accessibility legislation. And I'm sure it will have a huge impact. We are certainly seeing that already in the level of interest. And I'm certainly, from my personal perspective, I'm quite honored that you have decided, after finishing your highly successful term in government, to carry on with supporting our initiatives as we try to move British Columbia into a better direction as far as outcomes for persons with disabilities. Now I'd like to turn this over to Trevor Jansen, who is the creative director with Staggering Media. And Trevor has worked with us on a number of media projects over the last 4+ years. And I'd like him to please introduce his latest production and the global screening on Workplace Disability Management Assessment, an Employer's Guide to Reducing Costs and Retaining Valuable Workers. The mic is yours, Trevor.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Good morning, everyone, wherever you are in the world. First of all, I would like to congratulate this cohort of graduates. The importance of the work that you will undertake cannot be overestimated. There are honestly not enough of you. I have my own experience with disability in my family. 1.5 years ago, my younger brother suffered a brain injury. Since then, he's had a very difficult road. As his advocate, I have dealt with a system that is both unequipped or indifferent to his invisible disability. I've spent long hours wading through unfamiliar bureaucracy and endless paperwork trying to get him the support he needs. From his employer, there was no early intervention and no attempt to maintain his connection to the workplace. In fact, the system seemed very motivated to try and deny him both short-term and long-term disability support. It's very clear that without family support, my brother would have become homeless within months of his injury. And the downward cycle from there would have been devastating and heartbreaking. Fortunately, with some luck and a lot of effort, he seems to be reconnecting with the world of work. We have found an accommodating employer, and I'm relieved to see that he has maintained full-time employment for the last month. Despite the system, he seems to be part of the 1% of disabled persons who reconnect with work after being disabled and disconnected for more than a year. So this is just one reason why the work I do with NIDMAR is so personally important to me. And I applaud all of you for being the change in the system that we all want to see. The video that we are about to premiere is also a step in the right direction, encouraging organizations to evaluate their approaches to accommodating disabled workers. This video aims squarely at creating systemic change and speaks directly to employers. There are 3 arguments to be made for best practices in disability management. First, there's our moral obligation to catch people who are falling through the cracks. The other 2 arguments are the focus of this video: the economic argument for best practices in disability management, and because of emerging legislation, the issue of compliance. I want to thank Wolfgang Zimmerman, Joyce Gravel, Lanny DeHeck, and Bill Dyer for their support and guidance in the creation of this video. Together, I hope our efforts have created a powerful communications piece that will not only change minds, but also systems. Without further ado, I present our video, The Workplace Disability Management Assessment, an employer's guide to reducing costs and retaining valuable workers. Olivia, if you can start the video for us, please.
Could you imagine losing 690 years of productivity? Well, that's what happened in 2019 because there was over 250,000 occupational lost time injury claims in Canada. At minimum, that works out to be at least 690 years of lost time. In 2014, the cost of disability-related absence was 2.4% of Canada's gross national payroll. That's $16.6 billion. With that kind of money, you could buy Pearson International Airport 3 times and still have $1 billion left over. In any given week, at least 500,000 employed Canadians are unable to work due to mental health problems. That's almost the population of Vancouver, British Columbia every week. And that economic burden is estimated at $51 billion each year. That's 10 international airports and $1 billion left over. Locally and globally, we're facing a massive economic, social, and public policy problem around injury and disability. The impact is not just limited to the injured and disabled employee, it also affects their families, their friends, and their coworkers. The net impact rapidly measures into millions of people and billions of dollars in the economy. So, how do we change this? How do we catch the people who are falling through the cracks and recapture all that lost time and capital? Well, the answer is in having an effective disability management program. To get an employer's perspective, we talked to Leslie Allen Reed, the Director of Absence and Disability Management at Fraser Health.
Disability management is both a cost avoidance and a retention strategy for employers. So your cost avoidance comes from reducing the cost of employees being off work. The most expensive part of a disability is the time lost from the workplace. Not only are you paying for that employee who's off, you may be covering them with sick leave or a short-term or long-term disability, WorkSafe BC coverage. You're also having to replace that worker in the workplace. And sometimes you have to do that at overtime rates. So not only are you're basically paying for 2 people, possibly 2.5. And if you don't replace that person, then you've lost the productivity of that worker. So if I can help that person recover and get back to work more quickly by doing the right things at the right time to support their recovery, that time loss from work is less, and your cost associated with that becomes less. From a retention point of view, your people are your most important investment. And so if you have a strong disability management program, when one of those important resources gets hurt, gets sick, gets injured, and you're helping them get back to work in a timely way, they're going to see that as being valued by the organization. And that retention of that person, that skilled worker, that knowledgeable person who knows your work and business and has that experience, then is better for you business-wise. It's probably easiest for me to give you an example in real life. So at Fraser Health, we did some redesigning of our DM program a couple of years ago with a focus on early intervention for musculoskeletal and mental health issues, really trying to focus on getting people connected with services and supporting return to work as early as possible. We actually improved our return to work percentage of employees that return to work before 150 days, which is the start of our LTD plan, by 20% over 2 years. And so in turn, that reduced our LTD claim rate. When you do the math on trying to determine, well, what does that actually equate to? If our claim rate had stayed the same, we would have had almost 300 additional claims in the system that we avoided by having better outcomes up front and early intervention. And at a place as large as Fraser Health is, that equates to just over $10 million in 2 years.
A savings of $10 million. That's an amazing result simply by using cost avoidance and employee retention strategies through effective disability management practices. Saving money and maintaining your staff are great, but there's also another major thing for organizations to consider in the near future: compliance.
Recognizing the member for Saanich North and the Islands.
This legislation creates a framework that this is a process that's an ongoing process. Future parliaments are going to continue this important work.
We announced a new accessibility regulation taking effect on September 1st that requires over 750 organizations to start establishing accessibility committees, accessibility plans.
Federal and provincial governments are creating legislation like the Accessible British Columbia Act and the Accessible Canada Act. These pieces of legislation require government departments and crown corporations to think about and accommodate persons with disabilities. It is also the future for the private sector. So at this point, I hope employers are asking themselves, how do I get a cost avoidance and employee retention strategy that also brings me into compliance with legislation? Well, the National Institute of Disability Management Research has grants and support for organizations that want to evaluate their accessibility and disability management practices. The best first step with this grant is a snapshot assessment to figure out where the organization stands in relationship to best practices. This process is called the Workplace Disability Management Assessment. And these assessments are open to any type of employer. It doesn't matter what level your disability management practices are at. You just have to be willing to have the conversation, because this assessment covers 16 areas of discussion in 72 questions. They provide a roadmap to either create a disability management program or enhance an existing one. The grant available for the Workplace Disability Management Assessment is incredibly valuable, saving organizations tens of thousands of dollars, and it lays the framework to foster a consistent and engaged disability management process throughout your organization. But what does it actually look like to have effective disability management practices within your organization? We've asked a certified disability management practitioner to talk about her role.
Having a disability management client partner within your organization allows you to have that single source who comes in with a different lens, bringing in knowledge, experience, and impartiality that allows you to have better outcomes for everybody. Human resources is a very structured and rigid role. Disability management comes in with the breadth of understanding of those policies, those procedures, but is trained to have that creativity to color outside the lines and be able to come up with a reasonable accommodation that benefits everyone. Let me give you an example. I worked with a client who had a medical condition that simply stopped her from being able to work a certain part of her schedule. It was quite simple in terms we just want to be able to ask if anybody else was willing or interested to change with her. But because of rules, collective agreement, both HR and the union made it very difficult to ask a very simple question. Because it was a reasonable accommodation, we were able to ask a simple question. And because of that, we were able to find someone who wanted those shifts. And therefore, the employer was able to retain their employee, and that employee was able to stay connected to their workplace.
So what do you get with effective disability management? Reduced claim duration, significantly lower long-term disability rates, a reduction in replacement and training costs, and you get your employee back. All of these benefits are proven returns on investment of $5 for every dollar spent on effective disability management. 5 to 1. Not even the most optimistic stockbroker can promise that kind of return on investment. Now, if you're still feeling a little hesitant about applying for the grant to do the Workplace Disability Management Assessment, I can still think of a couple reasons why. First of all, let me say that we're not here to point fingers and to tell people that they haven't been doing their jobs. In fact, the assessment is a supportive and confidential discussion with a consensus-based approach. And the only person who gets a copy of the report is the person that requested it. Or maybe you're asking, how much time do we have to devote to this? Well, the assessment involves phone interviews with about 8 to 12 people, depending on the size of your organization, including both HR and union perspectives. That's it. It's not endless meetings that could have been an email. What you should be asking is this: how is this an opportunity? By applying for the grant and doing the assessment, you will be leading the way to a streamlined disability management process in compliance with federal and provincial legislation, lower LTD rates, and a better relationship with your employees and union. How many people can put that on their resume? But don't take it from me. Let's hear from someone who went through the assessment with a grant to improve their disability management practices.
I'm Catherine Gordon. I'm the Director of People and Culture at Canuck Place Children's Hospice. At Canuck Place Children's Hospice, we try and care for our staff the way we care for children and families. So when we were approached by NIDMAR to do the workplace disability audit, we were super excited because we didn't have the funds as a nonprofit to do that ourselves. So it was an amazing opportunity. And it confirmed that we were actually following best practice, but also identified some gaps that we could do to support our staff even more. The process itself was really easy. So I think anyone, regardless of sector, should be looking into this program, especially as it doesn't require any extra expense. NIDMAR provides the expertise that most organizations don't have internally. With the grant process right there, it's inexpensive to access that expertise to really fully support your staff. So I wholeheartedly endorse this program.
NIDMAR is a world leader in disability management and is offering grants worth thousands of dollars to do a workplace disability management assessment with your organization. Take advantage of this opportunity by going to nidmar.ca and looking at our audit services, or send an email to nidmar@nidmar.ca.
If you're an employer who either doesn't have a disability management program at all, or you do and you're looking to see whether or not it contains all the components it should to give you the bang for your buck that you're looking for, staff retention, cost avoidance, take advantage of the workplace disability management assessment that's being offered. There's no downside. There's grants and things available that there's no cost, and you're going to learn something that you then have the opportunity to make changes that are positive and have incredibly positive outcomes.
Well, congratulations, Trevor, on a tremendous production again, which will be far-reaching and certainly will be available. And I think everybody will be able to look forward to additional productions as we move this forward. And no question in our conversations that the personal experience with your brother has been an eye opener. But I think moving forward, if it wasn't for you, you're absolutely right. You would have probably it wouldn't have had a great outcome. Having said that, it is now also a great pleasure to introduce our member of Parliament, Gord Johns. Gord was born and raised on Vancouver Island, has lived in Courtenay, Alberni for over 25 years in the territory of the Notchinols people. Gord was first elected as a member of Parliament for Courtenay, Alberni in October 2015 and re-elected in 2019 and 2021. During the 42nd and 43rd Parliaments, he served as the NDP critic for small business and tourism, fisheries and oceans and veterans affairs. Gord is currently the NDP critic for mental health and harm reduction, procurement and the public service, and deputy critic for fisheries and oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard. Welcome, Gord. The mic is yours.
It's great to be joining you from Ottawa here in Parliament Hill and the unceded lands of the Anishinaabe and Algonquin people. And it's just a huge honor and to represent the riding of Courtenay, Alberni, to have the privilege of having Pacific Coast University for Workplace Health Sciences operate in our riding on the unceded lands of the Sishat and Kupachesset people. This institution is a global leader when it comes to disability management. I've been able to participate in many events with NIDMAR and meet many of the incredible, talented and expertise in individuals that contribute to the institution from all over the world. And so it's just always a privilege to be part of really something that needs to be supported in such an important way. And so today I want to congratulate the grads and I think it's just an amazing accomplishment to be able to achieve finishing this program. You know all too well the significance and importance of it. And I also want to thank the Chancellor, Wayne Waters, and Ken Newman, the co-chair, and of course, all the important staff and the consultants and team that work with Wolfgang and you, Wolfgang, for being such an inspiration, not just to the team around you, because you have an incredible team because of who you are and the passion and what you deliver. And the importance of the work that you do is, it's just impossible to explain in a very short period of time. But when we talk about human rights, when we talk about tackling poverty and the high unemployment rates of people living with disabilities, this is an opportunity for us to address so many different things at one time. And especially given that we're in a labor market crisis, and unlocking the GDP and the opportunities for people living with disabilities is such an important time to be supporting the work that you're doing. And I had the privilege of working with Pacific Coast University and Wolfgang on a pilot project, the first pilot project from Veterans Affairs, where we were able to support training some veterans on disability management, where they can improve and support the lives of other veterans. So just understanding the value of that and being a part of such an incredible story is just, it's just a huge privilege. But this past year, to be able to help work, with Pacific Coast University and Wolfgang and the university for getting investment in disability management professionalization was such an important step forward, in supporting the return to work for so many Canadians. And I want to thank Minister Qualtrough and her department for working with us across political lines in support of this internationally unique institution. And the work of the university, has changed people's lives and helps them get back to work after being injured in the workplace. And the impact of its programs on poverty reduction cannot be underestimated. So appreciate Shane Simpson, our former provincial minister, for his leadership and staying involved. And all of you, just can't say enough. And it's just, again, a huge privilege. And I talked to Minister Qualtrough just last night. Wolfgang, you'll be delighted to encourage her to extend the contract on this, huge historic investment in disability management, and hopefully get. My job is going to be pushing all government departments to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And so, getting every department to practice and ensure that they're trained in disability management for their own employees, so that we're looking after public servants here in Ottawa as well. So again, congratulations and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And I wish I could stay for the whole event, but of course I've got to head up to the House of Commons, and I'll be fighting for you and thinking about all of you today and in the every day moving forward in the important work that you're doing. And I'm here to support you. And again, thank you for so much for your work. And I wish you a really enjoyable rest of the morning there on the West Coast.
Well, thank you very much, Gord, and much appreciate all of your support. And as we discussed again during your visit here last week, that there's no question that we have to do a lot more, but you are a key player in moving this agenda forward, and your leadership in introducing a motion in the House of Commons to call for a national disability management strategy for this country has gone a long ways, and all of that supports our collective efforts, which really what this is a collective effort to try to make a difference. Now, I would just like to read out a message from our MLA here in Mid-Island Pacific Rim, the Honorable Josie Osborne, who unfortunately cannot be with us because of cabinet responsibilities in Victoria. Josie was elected as MLA for Mid-Island Pacific Rim in 2020, and she's the BC Minister of Land, Water, and Resource Stewardship. And she says to the graduation of class of 2022, as a member of the Legislative Assembly for Mid-Island Pacific Rim, it is my honor to extend a congratulatory message to today's graduates. Pacific Coast University's Bachelor of Disability Management program is a one-of-a-kind, internationally recognized degree that aims to reshape the approach and policies related to persons with disabilities in the workforce. Today, you join a select group of graduates, and each of you is uniquely positioned to provide leadership that is crucial to building more inclusive communities and workplaces. We know that when people with disabilities are provided with suitable accommodation and supported with policies that recognize the importance of those accommodations, they can thrive in the workplace. By the same measure, when accommodations are withheld, they can have devastating effects. The importance of having trained professionals to develop proper policies and procedures to ensure quality in the workplace cannot be understated. I want to say to you today that the work you do in this field will be life-changing for so many people, regardless of what your industry you choose to enter. You should be incredibly proud of the hard work and dedication that got you here today. I hope that you are able to take a few moments today, together with your families, friends, and colleagues who are celebrating your success, to fully and deeply appreciate your accomplishments. I wish you all the best of luck as you prepare to go out and change the world. Josie Osborne, MLA, Mid-Island Pacific Rim. Having said that, now we move on, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Susan Patrick, our Director of Academic Program Development and Delivery. Susan has a background in scientific research, university-level instruction, and course and program development. She has a PhD in neuroscience and a Bachelor of Science from the University of Alberta. Susan's earlier career was centered on neuroscience research in various capacities at the University of Alberta and Emory University. During her research at the University of Alberta, Susan also pursued teaching within departments of physiology and physical therapy. This experience in communication of research findings, face-to-face instruction, and course design was valuable when she later took on responsibility for the development of online and blending learning experiences. The floor is yours, Susan, to talk a bit about the degree itself and then introduce the students receiving the degree as well as our valedictorian. Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good very early morning, everybody, depending on where you're joining us from. I'm honored to be here this morning to celebrate the achievements of 10 individuals as I graduate today with the Bachelor of Disability Management. The Bachelor of Disability Management program, or BDM program, was first launched in September of 2014. It was the first of its kind worldwide and remains unparalleled nationally and internationally. This unique degree aims to provide students with the skills, knowledge, and background to help injured employees remain at their workplace, stay at work, and return to work. The degree also prepares students to help employers and other organizations, such as service providers and insurers, establish and run cost-effectively disability management and return to work programs. Many of the students currently in the BDM program entered the program having already completed 60 credits at other institutions, providing the required and discretionary elective components of the degree. Then at PCU, they complete the equivalent number of credits as specialized BDM courses. These specialized BDM courses, taught by experts in the topics, are wide-ranging, but always directly applied to disability management. In their studies, the students develop knowledge, competencies, and leadership skills in the interaction between work and the workplace and the body and the mind, establishing and maintaining a safe and healthy work environment, data collection and analysis, everyone's favorite, case analysis and research methods, medical and rehabilitative clinical vocabulary and findings, legislation and policy, workers' compensation, client engagement, organizational structures, human resources and change management, insurance, benefit coordination and financial planning, return to work planning, communication and interviewing skills, stakeholder collaboration, DM return on investment, economics, ethics, conflict resolution, unions and service coordination, and so much more. This is a very intense program aimed to provide students with a solid foundation in line with the occupational standards of the International Disability Management Standards Council, the IDMSC, and thus preparing the students to begin a new career in disability management, or to delve further into the DM field in which they are already working, to reshape the thinking, attitudes, and systems involving workers with disabilities. Congratulations, graduates, and welcome to the start, or rather continuation, of something big. Now, at this point, I'm very pleased and honored to introduce to you the graduating class of 2022. I would like to note that 5 of these graduates completed their degree under the WorkSave BC Scholarship Program at BCU. These 10 individuals have all been faced with many challenges to complete their degree. Challenges balancing their studies with other responsibilities of work, family, and general life. Several also persevered through personal challenges and tragedies. You made it, all of you, and we're proud of you. This class has been dedicated and stubborn, as you often need to be to overcome challenges faced. They've thirsted for knowledge, really supported one another, and have a determination to set things right. They are meticulous in their work and have sincere empathy for others. And they have always conducted themselves as honest, genuine individuals of integrity. Now to these graduates I say, the field of disability management, your workplaces, current and future injured workers, and society as a whole will indeed benefit from your involvement, insights, and dedication as you move forward from your degree to apply the knowledge, skills, and understandings you have acquired, and to apply what we have seen of you at PCU to all you do. I think I speak for all the faculty, staff, and administration at Pacific Coast University when I say that we are very proud of you for the hard work you have put in, the dedication and drive you have exhibited, and for what you have accomplished. You are definitely the best parts of our job. The following students are awarded the degree of Bachelor of Disability Management. Nazima Adrenatos.
Yay! Thank you.
Linda Casabanco.
Yay!
Elizabeth Margaret Ellen. Lily Gong. Diane Hildebrand.
Woo!
Terero Halala Medzira. Angela Lamoureux.
Yay!
Crystal John Simmons.
Yay!
And Josephine Valente. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you very much for being a crucial and valued part of Pacific Coast University for Workplace Health Sciences. And we wish you great and tremendous success in all of your future endeavors. Now, every member of our graduating class today is special and unique and stands out from all the others in some wonderful aspect. But now I would like to introduce to you one particular graduate, Josephine Valente, and some of the wonderful ways in which she stands out. Josie started with PCU in the spring of 2019. She completed her studies last spring trimester with a fantastic academic record. However, there is more to this graduate than the grade she achieved, such as her perseverance, despite the difficult conditions under which she achieved these grades, and such as the person she was to herself and everyone around her under these difficult conditions. Josie came to us from the Academy of Learning Career College in Kingston, Ontario. Tara Teeling, campus director there, described Josie as, and I quote, "one of the kindest, most authentic people I've ever met." She went on to say that through all of her difficult circumstances, Josie kept shining, kept her sense of humor and decency, and continued to be a consistent force that nobody could take down. I wanted to share these words with you, as we at Pacific Coast University have seen these same qualities, and we're blessed to have Josie as a student. Josie has accepted a permanent full-time position with Queen's University as Manager of Operations, where she will, among her other responsibilities, be overseeing occupational health and safety, accommodations, and return to work. She has also expressed an interest in remaining connected to and involved with PCU, and to that I say, Josie, it will be our pleasure. I am very pleased to introduce to you the valedictorian for the 2022 graduating class, Josephine Valente.
Thank you, Susan. Can everybody hear me? Okay, I'm just at work, so I'm kind of just in my office. I had to sneak away for grads, so thank you for that amazing overture. You made me cry. I swore I wasn't going to cry today, but you did. So thank you for that. You did that. Angela, stop crying. Anyways, hello everyone and congratulations. I'm honored and excited to be representing Pacific Coast University Bachelor of Disability Management class of 2022. As we sit here today, we all need to reflect on the past 4 years. For some of us, it was only 2 that led us all to the same place. We all accomplished a major milestone in our lives, one that should be recognized for its immense significance. To take on an academic venture at any age comes with its own challenges. For most of us, this was not our first career. Many of us decided to switch careers or had to leave the workplace due to our own workplace injuries, which forced us to make some very difficult, life-altering decisions really, really quickly. We either decided to go back to school and leave our professions that we were not ready to leave, or we were forced to do so. This unfortunately happened to me after being a first responder. Sorry guys, for 21 years. The workplace injuries some of us sustained led us to this degree, which in turn helped us grow as individuals, helped us deal with our personal struggles and heal along the way. Personally, this degree was very therapeutic. It taught me that we're strong and that whatever we set our minds on, we can accomplish. A disability should never hinder someone's ability to succeed professionally. As graduates, we are now able to help individuals that are where we were 4 years or 2 years ago. As my classmate Angela said, we first dreamed we would get into the program. Then we dreamed of having no more discussion posts or papers to write. Then we dreamed of graduating. Along the way, it took adaptations, patience with ourselves and our families as we worked towards our degrees. We accomplished a huge goal, not only due to personal commitment, but also one of pride, determination, and hard work. We all worked so very hard to get to this day. The many hours spent writing papers or discussion posts finally paid off. We made it. We are graduating. So what now, we think? Graduation is not an end goal in itself. It is a piece of the puzzle we call life. This journey has helped us all grow as individuals, and taught us that we can be strong and persevere in the most difficult of circumstances. Good job, guys. As I reflect back to the past 4 years, what stands out the most to me is the friendships that were made and the cohesiveness of our cohort, even though we were all so far from each other from various parts of the world, me being in Ontario. To build lifelong friendships virtually is a feat in itself, but the interactions and bonds that we built got us through the program and also through a global pandemic. It has served us well in that we all built friendships, contacts that will last a lifetime. Too often, people that we cross paths with in our lives do what they feel they must do, not what they should do. With you all, my fellow graduates, professors, and support staff, I can truly say you all went above and beyond to help us at every curve in the road or with every challenge we all face. As individuals, you're all unique, authentic, and driven. Your personal drive has not only gotten you to this day, it has personally helped me and fellow graduates not give up when at times we genuinely want to. Throughout our own personal and professional struggles, we all found time to help each other and learn about this amazing profession. I am proud to say we're all disability management professionals. Sorry guys, emotional. You are truly inspirational. Your stories, your life experiences, and reasons that led you to this degree are truly amazing. There are no words that can describe the challenges, highs, and lows that we faced individually and as a team the last 4 years, or the sacrifices that we all had to make to achieve this amazing outcome. You, my friends, have helped me to overcome some unfathomable challenges and tragedies and unexpected disappointments along the way. And for this, I can never thank you enough. Sorry, being emotional. I can't help myself. As most of you know, after completing my placement at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, I was straight away hired as a disability management and return to work specialist on a 3-month contract within employee wellness. As I started working files, I quickly began to understand the importance of working as a team to help individuals accomplish their goals and positive outcomes. Some individuals wanted to return to work. Others needed accommodations or needed to start in a new venture within our university. Others went on to retire. Our profession is one that is very, very rewarding. I can speak from personal experience now, but also very, very challenging at times. We must always keep an open mind and be compassionate when dealing with individuals that may be facing the most challenging times of their lives. Throughout the 4 years, we were lucky to meet some amazing individuals. Our professors are some of the most intelligent and brilliant individuals we have ever met, and we will miss connecting with you all and learning from you greatly. Thank you so very much for your unwavering support and teaching us what is needed to be successful in this career. Thank you for always being eager and engaging with us and supporting us to be successful. Thank you to all the support staff that helped us along the way. We are forever grateful to have had the opportunity to have grown in such a supportive environment. For that, we are grateful. To my fellow graduates, writing this speech, I didn't know what I was going to say, but I want you all to know that you will all accomplish amazing things. We have the gift of learning in an academic institution that is focused on excellence. Whether you intend to continue your education or not, you will benefit from what we learned here at Pacific Coast University. We have changed as individuals. We are now colleagues. Thank you to our families, friends, and loved ones, those that are with us today and those that we lost the past 4 years throughout our journey. The unwavering support and love has gotten us to where we are today. In saying this, I want to tell you a story that I hold dear to my heart. I apologize if I cry. I was in my second year at Pacific Coast University. My father became terminally ill, at which time we were told that we were limited on our time with him. In that moment, my direct reaction was to tell my father that I was going to drop out of school and spend every day by his side. His response is one that I live by to this day. He said, in his Italian accent and broken English, "Giuseppina, you don't stop, you keep going." So here I am today. I kept going and accomplished goals I never thought I would. So thank you, Dad, for that. So again, thank you all for allowing me to represent the class of 2022. I am forever grateful to have had this opportunity and to have met you all along this journey. This is not goodbye. Our paths are forever entwined. I am a phone call or email away, and forever will be here to lend a helping hand and look forward to hearing about your future accomplishments. I leave you with a quote from an unknown author that resonates with me. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. Never give up, for that is just the place and time that the tide will turn. There is no failure in life except in no longer trying. As my amazing father, my guardian angel, said, don't stop, keep going. Wishing you all the best in your future ventures. I adore you all. I'm extremely proud of you, and I am very grateful to have you all in my lives. Wishing you all the best, your friend, your colleague, and your disability management professional, Josephine Valente.
Many thanks, Josephine, for a most emotional and inspiring speech, and I think certainly congratulations on a tremendous effort of what has been achieved. And on a personal level, when I look back at, as Ken mentioned, getting hurt more than 40 years ago, we didn't have human rights legislation even, let alone having disability management professionals who would be able to provide support to get back into the workforce. It was really through sheer luck and the commitment of the union and the commitment of the company that I got back. But it is truly inspiring to now have individuals like yourself and all of your colleagues who are out there with the knowledge, with the skill, with the competence to make a difference, because having and suffering, acquiring a disability is not something that we ever expect. So now moving on to our closing remarks, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce Dr. Donald McEnany, who, of course, as many of you know, was also the actual architect of the degree and took it through a most challenging approval process that he loves to remember. in here with the Ministry of Advanced Education. Donald was program director of the Social and Vocational Studies and program lecturer in Special Education and Rehabilitation Studies at the University College of Dublin. He was also director of research and innovation for the Rehab Group. He is a well-known top researcher in the field of disability management and has worked throughout Europe and indeed the world as senior research consultant with the Work Research Center in Dublin, Ireland. He continues to act as a training and development consultant for the European Platform for Rehabilitation in Belgium. Donald, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. The thing about giving the closing remarks is that everybody has said everything before you get a chance to make your remarks. So all I can do for the starters is to add my congratulations to the graduates. I have had the pleasure of actually teaching or learning with them all. They are all absolutely superb individuals. And I think what Josephine has said and what Susan has said, I mean, I would absolutely just 100% support that and add my I would add my congratulations to them. They will make a huge impact, I believe, for their clients, for their organizations, and ultimately for society. But there's some other people I'd like to thank as well, right? So, and the first, as having been involved with the program, the first people I'd like to add to this list are the members of faculty. I mean, you would not believe the commitment that faculty make to the program. And it's no exaggeration to say that without the broad scope of expertise, knowledge, and professional experience that these committed academics bring to the program, PCU would not be what it is today, which is a uniquely multidisciplinary organization that basically operates across a wide range of academic and professional knowledge. And there's no way that any other university in the world could offer this, because certainly when I was in university, you always worked within a faculty. So you're either the faculty of psychology or the faculty of law or the faculty of economics or whatever. I think PCU is the only place where you can get this broad range of knowledge all in the one place. So I think I'd like to thank our faculty members for their commitment and their contribution to the program. Of course, the thing is, delivering an online program is a complex process, and it requires a huge amount of collaboration, if you like, in the back of house. And there's many important roles that all have to come together in order for the students and faculty to have a constructive learning experience in the courses. And it includes student support, academic leadership, technological expertise, effective registration processes, and efficient administration. So I would also like to give a special word of thanks to the team that is basically supporting the learning environment within the university. Needless to say, it's also really important to acknowledge and recognize the stakeholders. We have some of them here today, but the many, many stakeholders who have demonstrated their commitment to NIDMAR, the university, through practical, political, monetary, and academic support over the years. In my mind, there would be no way that PCU would be where it is today without that support. And finally, I think we should all recognize the critical role that the leaders of PCU have played on turning what was once an impossible dream into a flourishing institution. So thank you very much, Joyce. Thank you very much, Wolfgang, for all the work that you've done tirelessly on behalf of the university for over 20 years. And thanks to the academic governance team, who have ensured that PCU punches significantly above its weight as an academic institution and places it in a really great position to progress into the future. So it's everybody works together. I think Josephine said it best. I'm just kind of echoing what she said. And I'd just like to conclude now by asking you all to give a round of applause to the graduates today. Well done, everybody. So back to you, Wolfgang.
Great. Thank you very much, Donald. Yes, when I reflect of more than 25 years now that we've worked together on this file, trying to make a difference and the challenges that we've had. I mean, it's very much a collective effort, but leadership, and we will carry on trying to move the agenda forward and trying to move the needle. So with having said that, I think I just want to add to that, of course, in terms of, congratulations on all the success and the hard work that has got all the graduates to this point. Absolutely thank Susan and all of the other faculty members and staff and support that has been out there. But I also like to express our hope that we will be able to carry on working together and count on all of you to try to, what is really a mission of trying to achieve better outcomes. And I think when Wayne in his initial comments talked about the intersection and the number of individuals with disabilities that are also in poverty, and the difference that maintaining employment can have with all of that and making a difference, and that we have a long road ahead of us, but with the legislation that Shane introduced that we have at the federal level, and with all of the commitment from all of you, I think we will see positive results moving forward, and I'm confident that over time we will dramatically change the narrative so that just because you acquire an impairment doesn't mean you get pushed to the margins of society, doesn't mean you end up with homelessness, doesn't mean you end up with things that are far worse. So congratulations, many thanks. It's a collective effort. Certainly very, very proud of all of you for everything you are doing and continue to do, and look forward to our ongoing relationships. And having said that, I certainly just like to close by saying I'm hoping that Professor Biggs, who has joined us from Brisbane, Australia, and had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to participate, can go back to bed and can get some sleep. And I'd like to also extend my apologies to Donald, who in Dublin, now, of course, is 8 hours ahead of us. And we have now cut quite rudely into his happy hour and his daily Guinness. So that thank you very much for joining us, and thank you all for this tremendous event and all your commitment. And wish you wherever you are a great day, and thank you for supporting all of us, and hope we can continue to make a difference in the lives of individuals. Thank you.